A little bit of an update for you. She's running. She's alive, right? Yeah, am I allowed to say she's alive? I am not looking at the phone currently. I'm driving, so just want to let you guys know the truck is alive. She's doing well. She is fixed. Everything is ironed out. A lot of you said that you were really interested in knowing exactly what I find as soon as I find it. And she is hot to trot right now, baby. I'll tell you what, she run like a damn scalded egg. She is running. After multiple people and dumping tons of money into it at other shops, bring it to the boss and I get you lined out real nice and good, baby. Real nice. Ryan, what's up? What's up, Bubba? P2196, 2198. She's cooking. Trying to get those cats cleaned out. That's why I'm kind of getting on it hard right now. Gets a lot of that raw fuel and stuff out of there that's been in there for a while. So basically what ended up happening, and I'll run over this with you guys real quick just so you guys know. There's only a few things. I got thinking about it today, and there's only a few things that's going to cause your short-term fuel trims to automatically peg out and take down your fuel trim reading altogether and just not read anything. There's only a few things that are going to do that. That's almost as if you have no airflow going in the vehicle at all and just enough to keep it running. Let me finish my train of thought before people start making simple requests, please. I want to focus on the road and not looking at what people want right now. There's only a few things that's going to cause fuel trims to actually peg out like that and not adjust appropriately. One thing is, if the air filter's completely plugged up, that could be one thing. That could be in the opposite direction of what we had where it was flooded, or the air filter's not sitting inside the box correctly and sucking air around it. That could cause some issues. Another thing would be if you had leaky fuel injectors that were just dumping fuel into your motor, and it would cause issues on startup until it started to warm up, and then the leak wouldn't be so bad. It would still run, but it would run sluggish, and if it was kind of drowning itself out. That wasn't the issue because we did a fuel injector leak down test last night. None of the injectors leaked down. Basically what I did was I pulled the supply line to the fuel rail off, and I put a T-fitting in between, and I hooked the fuel gauge up to it, and I keyed on about 62, 64 PSI built inside the system, and then I keyed off and I watched the fuel pressure drop. If there would have been a leaky injector, we would have had something dropping off like crazy right away, and that's not what happened. It dropped down to about 58 PSI, which is normal, and it stabilized right there, and it didn't get any lower than that. It just stayed right at 58, which told me I don't have a leaky fuel injector. In the meantime, I wanted to check fuel quality. Fuel quality was really bad. A lot of alcohol in it. A lot of like brownish fuel on the top layer for where the vehicle had been sitting for a while. We pumped all that down to about 35 to 38% fuel in the tank until we got down to clear fuel, and we stopped dumping fuel. And then I drove up here to the Shell gas station and put $100 worth of 89 octane in it and got fresh fuel mixed in, which seemed to help quite a bit. Another thing that could cause this rich condition would be if you had bias O2 sensors, which they were already changed with brand new ones, and I did confirm today. I had the parts department pull the right O2 sensors per the VIN and compared them to the ones that were on the truck, and they were identical, so I knew that part was good. If you had O2 sensors that were biased, that could cause an issue with running rich. That was not the case here. What else? He had a messed up PCV system. A lot of people believe, but it wouldn't be as dramatic as it is here. And the other thing is the mass airflow. Well, they changed the mass airflow. It had a brand new mass airflow in it, right? Well, I got to thinking about it today, and I pull in my stall, and I'm sitting there, and this thing is just, it's burning my eyes. I'm getting tears in my eyes because of the amount of just muck that's in the air coming from the truck. It's running better the more I'm driving it, but it's still not right. So I hook up to my Think Diag dongle, the thing down there, and I have it hooked up to my phone, and I'm watching my lambda reading, my fuel trim, my short trim, my long trim. Pop the hood on the truck while I'm monitoring everything as it's sitting in my stall. I take the mass airflow, I unplug the mass airflow, and all of a sudden I got a long-term fuel trim reading, and I was like, wait a second. I unplugged the mass airflow. It's a brand new mass airflow. I defaulted it back to some kind of data set that it has stored in the PCM. I have a long-term fuel trim reading now. Let me pull this mass airflow out of here and put the old one back into the truck. Put the old mass airflow back in the truck, and all of a sudden, within like 30 seconds, and after clearing codes, put the old one back in and clear codes, I see my alcohol percent go from 83.13 to 72 to 62 to 42 to 35, and now all of a sudden I'm driving around and it's at, like, last I looked at it about 10 minutes ago, it was at 28% alcohol. Long-term fuel trim came down to like 21, 14, 15, negative I should say, negative 14, negative 10, negative 8, all the way down to 0, and it stabilized right at 0 where it's supposed to be. And then all of a sudden short-term fuel trim came back online and continued to adjust 25, 24, 17, 15, all the way down to less than 5% fuel trim adjustment on the negative side, straight down to plus or minus 3-4%, exactly where it's supposed to be. My alcohol stabilized, my short-term fuel trim came back online, my downstream catalytic converter read right at about 0.7 volts, 0.8 volts, just like it's supposed to, and stayed there on the driver's side. On the passenger side, it was struggling a bit, and it kept dropping it all the way down to like 0.2, 0.3, and then going back up to 0.7, 0.8. So there could be a problem with the driver's side catalytic converter, because of it running rich for so long and so many people getting in the system and working it and letting it run like that for so long. I hope the driver's side catalytic converter is not damaged, but it seemed to come back and stabilize. The more I drive it, the more I'm clearing it out, the more it's staying right at 0.7, 0.8, and it's just hanging there doing exactly what it's supposed to do. And upstream is switching just like it's supposed to, and my lambda is staying right at 1, right in the sweet spot, which is 14, what is that, 14.71 stoichiometric, but they call it lambda. It's like their equivalency of how they actually rate everything. And the truck is just running absolutely beautiful. It was a bad mass airflow that was put in the truck that caused all of the issues that was going on. It wasn't a fuel pump, wasn't a fuel pump driver module, it wasn't a crank sensor, it wasn't spark plugs, it wasn't any of the stuff these other people have done to this truck. It was just simply old, nasty fuel that would have probably run out of the truck long term anyway, and a bad mass airflow, because the truck sat for 3 or 4 weeks, and animals and critters and debris like to crawl up on things and everything else, and probably wasn't even a bad mass airflow. Probably just had to pull it out, tap it on a white piece of paper, get a little bug or whatever off of it, put the original mass airflow right back in the truck. Took care of all the problems. Yeah, I don't know if Scotty knows what paint thinner was. Seems like maybe paint thinner probably cleaned Scotty's cat, but anyway, that's beside the point. We're not going to talk about him. Let's not bring Scotty up in my live streams anymore unless somebody has a legit question. You guys know how that gets me fired up, so just don't do that. I really don't like the guy. What's up, Bob? Whoo, she's getting sideways. All right, let's stop bringing him up. Please, you guys, stop. I've asked nicely, and then I'm not going to ask nicely after that. I'm going to start deleting people or pushing people out of the... I'm just asking you to stop doing that. Gwen, I'm driving right now. I'm not going to go back and read people's comments and stuff like that. If I miss it, I miss it. I'm trying to take you guys along with this right now. I do apologize. Oh yeah, she's running good now. She's idling good now. She's got real good fuel in her right now. I put a lot of 89 in it instead of whatever was in it. You missed it, Paul. I'm going to release a video so you guys actually have the video. It was a bad, brand new mass airflow. Put the old mass airflow right back in, and it took care of all the problems. You'll see a whole video on it, and you'll even be able to go back and reference the first part of this video that I've already explained. So I don't want to go in repeat mode. Just kind of taking you guys through it. Just a bad mass airflow is what caused the entire problem. But I do have a video I'm going to release whenever I get back to the dealership. I'm going to put it together for you guys and get it out real quick so you guys can actually see what all the readings and stuff look like right after I got everything to clear up. If it's just for a second, you're fine, Alex. It's not a... you'll have a little hiccup every once in a while, but bank 2, sensor 2, bank 1... bank 2, sensor 2, bank 1, sensor 2 should stay right at about 0.68 to about 0.85. Just stabilize right there. About 0.7, 0.75 is optimal, like perfect running. But if it drops down every once in a while and comes back up and stays up longer than it's dropping down, typically that's not that much of an issue. It's if it's doing it often that you're starting to see early signs of cat failure. So you know what direction you're going. You don't necessarily need navigation to have a compass. And if you have navigation, your question should be kind of worded the other way. If you have navigation, why do you need a compass? That's how your question should be stated, instead of, if you have a compass, why don't you have navigation? Because your navigation is literally taking you from point A to point B, and you can shrink the map and see exactly what direction you're going. I'm going to get him too, trust me. Even if it means rubbing his feet or something like that, I'll do it. They use... I think as of like 11 or 12, they went to more like a wideband setup, so you actually have the lambda reading. So instead of a 4-wire, it's actually a 5-wire. Could be 5-wire or 6-wire, I forget. So they actually did go to wideband, so you get a better reading. Because I don't think, if you don't have the wideband set up, you can't get the lambda reading, if I remember correctly. How often is 428 bad cat or exhaust leak? You know, I'm kind of like, I'm smitten when it comes to people saying, well, if you got a 420, it's a bad cat. Not necessarily. You could have a bad purge valve. If you got a bad purge valve and it's just slightly leaking and your evap system hasn't triggered a fault yet, it'll make you think that you have a bad cat because it'll set a 420 code. And that's like I tell people all the time. Just because you have a 420 code doesn't mean that that's necessarily the case, that the cat is bad. You could simply have some kind of emissions issue, and that could be what's triggering it. So I wouldn't always count on 420. It could be an exhaust leak, but if it was an exhaust leak, you would tend to think that you would run lean because it would be introducing extra oxygen, and that's not necessarily the case. So a 420 code is typically caused by either, like you said, a bad cat, could be an O2 sensor issue, or an evap issue. My opinion on Sync 4, honestly, I don't like the sync system once they left Microsoft. Once they left Microsoft and did this Sync 3 and Sync 4 stuff, we just have a ton of problems with that stuff. I'm not a fan of it at all, though, to be honest with you. I'd prefer Sync 3 over Sync 4 just because I'm biased. I know how to work on Sync 3. I'm not as familiar with Sync 4, so I can't really give you the complete lowdown on that. Well, this gentleman will be happy to get his truck back, so he doesn't have to keep relying on. I wish more people would just situations like this just take their time. Take their time. Yeah, what happened with Sync 3? How come nobody ever fixed all the issues with that? How come nobody ever updated the accessory protocol interface modules enough to where we didn't continually have problems with them all the time? The customer's radio was going down all the time. I mean, personally, no attack to you because I know you said you're a Sync 4 developer, but whoever was involved in Sync 3 did a terrible job, an absolutely atrocious job. Whoever was part of the development of Sync 3, I would have fired the entire team and hired all new people and said, figure it out, because obviously these guys can't. But I know it all comes down to money at the end of the day, so. Sync 2 was easy. Sync 2 was easy to deal with and diagnose, and I didn't ever really have the problems that I have with Sync 3 and above. It's just Sync in general. Just like everybody wants all these like fancy features and stuff like that. Everybody wants the bells and whistles and wants their car to take their socks off of them before they get in the house at night and stuff. And it's like, why? Why do people keep wanting all this junk on their vehicles? And it's a matter of people being so reliant on all these creature comforts and stuff like that, these features. I wish people would just quit. Stop with having to be stimulated all the damn time. Stop with having to have something in front of you or in your hands all the time. Go be constructive. Go spend time with your kids, or talk to your loved one in the car. Or why do you gotta have your phone playing through your radio and then 6,000 things going on at one time? Stop. What is that? People, they want this overstimulation of all this junk all the time, and it's let me stop before. Yeah. Imagine if they did what they did with the Panther platform or the 3 liter in the Escapes and stuff like that, or uh, the Ranger 3 liter, or the 4 liter, or something like that. I mean, maybe redesign the timing chains on the 4 liter better. Imagine if they would put more time into those types of vehicles, how many cars would be on the road and reliable today if they would have just taken that technology that they had in the other stuff and advanced it. Did maybe make a better fuel injector for it, or a more precise type of ignition timing, or some kind of fuel delivery, a better high pressure system or something like that for some of these older vehicles that just never broke down. They just ran and ran and ran and ran. Maybe update the stuff that was on them controlling them so people would have got better fuel economy, because the vehicles have gotten bigger and heavier in some cases and the fuel economy went up. So what about making some of the things that people loved, that were tried and true, that didn't fail, better, and continuing to give that to them? Or the 3.7 liter, exactly like Elvis said. 3.5 liter, the 3.0 liter, the 3 liter, the 2.3 liter. Fix all the little quirks and stuff and just make them better. Simple. I don't agree at all. Why do companies keep making people buy a whole package of BS to get the stuff they do want? You don't have to agree with anything I said. I don't know if you're talking to me or somebody else. Or they have the 300, you know. Ray is a moderator here. Ray shows up here often. He's probably at work right now or just got off heading home. So, bring back the 5.0 liter, or not the 5.0, the 5.8 liter, and optimize it. Something like that. Chris found Dennis, the evap valve likely failed. It can be tested in smoke too. You don't even have to smoke it. Just pull the evap valve off of it and blow in one side or blow in the other side. If you get any air coming out of it at all with the connector disconnected, it's junk. It's no good. Figure it out. Dean, I don't know if you're trying to push buttons or not, but you're going to do it real quick. Let's start this thing back up and see how it starts after that run. They should put a Tesla motor in a Panther car? No. No way. I'd never be for that. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I'm just saying, man. I mean, we're all here to get along. We're not here to be sarcastic with each other and try to play games and stuff with each other unless we legitimately know the other person's playing games. I mean, I'm not the person to push unless we're, joking around. And we're not right now. We're talking serious. Beautiful. Starts absolutely amazing. I think we're good. Mr. Customer, come get your truck. And your box of parts. You can have them back. I don't want them. Why would a service advisor tell me, I shouldn't even consider using full synthetic in my 2.7 liter until after 30,000. I don't know. Yeah, service advisors have their own agenda and what they believe as well. So you're gonna have to sift through, the BS whenever you're listening to people talk about stuff. If they can't show you why or tell you why or give you literature why, I don't trust them. I don't just listen to things that people say. It's like a bunch of people online. They say, "Well, I've been a machinist for 30 years." Show me. Where's a video? Where's something? Where's you teaching people or talking to people or showing people your profession? Oh, you don't have any of that stuff, and I'm supposed to just randomly believe you? If I go to a service advisor or somebody else and they're telling me something, okay, and why? You can't show me, you can't tell me, and I'm just supposed to believe you? Yeah, I'm sorry, that doesn't work for me. I'm from the show me state. Let's see. If you can't show me, I don't believe you. Yeah, we had what was it, a Lariat or an XLT or something like that, 250 in here not too long ago, and the customer specifically ordered it with Sync 3. They did not want Sync 4. But the funny thing is, after 3 months of owning the truck, the accessory protocol interface module already went out on the truck. So it dropped communication with, it would randomly say on the dash, I have a video here on the channel, it would randomly say on the dash, could not sync with voice recognition or something like that. And the guy's like, I wasn't even trying to get the voice recognition to come up. Why is it sending this warning message up? I don't even have any of that stuff turned on. And it was a bad accessory protocol interface module. And you got to use FDRS to diagnose it, which you got to go through the guided diag. But Ford is having so many problems with Sync 4 and Sync 3 guided diag that when you hit a wall and it sees that something is out of date and you're trying to put the update in it to see if it fixes the problem so you can move forward, it won't let you move forward if it won't take the programming. So there is a provision there where if you're trying to move forward to get an RVC code to replace an accessory protocol interface module and you're walking through the guided diag with FDRS, it has a hiccup in it and it will just stop you. It'll say attempt to program, attempt to program, attempt to program. And if it doesn't see that you've attempted to program it and put the information in the module to update it, it won't let you progress forward. So I sent a message to Hotline and I told them what was going on, and they said, yeah, we're aware. We're having problems right now with how FDRS and guided diag and communications going on. You're going to have to go to your tab on your PTS homepage, and you're going to have to drop down to the bottom, and it says request an RVC manually. And you're going to have to request the RVC manually and just get an APIM that way for right now until we can figure out how we're going to move this guided diag past this wall that we hit with Sync 3 and Sync 4. And there's no fix for it right now, so just request your RVC manually and go ahead and get the APIM coming. Well, it came, I put it in, installed it, programmed everything, and it took the damn thing 3 times, almost 3 hours to get the information programmed into the module, because on the corporate server side it kept failing and failing, and then finally after the 3rd time it went through, and I was like, you have got to be kidding me, man. And you got to sit here and babysit the thing the entire time while you're programming, and customers don't understand why it takes so long to get their vehicles back. It's not us. It's not us. If we can't do our job efficiently like we're supposed to be able to, it's not us. You want your vehicle fixed? Unfortunately, you're at the mercy of whatever's going on at the time. It's just how it is. There's no speeding it up. There's no rushing. And a lot of times the network traffic is so bad, we can't even get people's modules up to date, and we have to send them away and ask them to come back another day because it just isn't working or the system's down. Sync 4 and Sync 3, both of them. Brian, I understand that that's your freedom of speech to say that, but it really grinds my gears when people single out a manufacturer, I don't care who it is, and say, oh, this manufacturer is just complete trash. They're all doing this lately. They're all having issues. They're all having manufacturing problems. Every single manufacturer is having these type of problems right now. So when somebody singles out one manufacturer, because of their bias, it's like, come on, man. We got to do better than that. Nothing against you, because I know that's legitimately how you feel, but I just wish people would back up a little bit and just think about what they're about to say. It's the firmwares. It's absolutely. It takes so long to get the information in, so long. So yeah, it might be 4 gig. I don't. But sometimes it takes multiple times of trying it over and over and over again, and hopefully you don't smoke a module in the process, which is absolutely crazy. 19 350 6.2 nuisance tick since day one. Dealer always said normal, no issue so far. Cam phaser sound. J Mers, I actually have a couple videos on 6.2 liter ticks, taps, rattles, snap, crackle, pops, the whole 9 yards. If you just look in the library, you'll get the full 411 on what's going on. There's typically three things that happen with 6.2s. Either one, it sounds like a tick tap rod knock kind of thing, like real faint, or like a little bit of a wrist pin early action starting to make noise. And that's the intake manifold runner on those typically. And guys literally put engines in these vehicles and reuse the old manifold. And they're like, man, I just put a new engine in this thing. It's making the same sound. Okay, did you change the intake manifold before you went to all that? Did you pull the vacuum line, undo the connector, go into the runners on the intake manifold? No, I didn't. Well, go do it. Oh, wait, the sound went away. Yeah, so you just replaced that $10,000 engine for no reason at all. It was a $600 intake manifold that you can't even get right now. It's on some kind of nationwide back order. Yeah, could have been $600 in the vehicle down for months while waiting for an intake, or just drive it the way it is. But instead, you put $10,000 into a customer's truck and you didn't diagnose it properly because you didn't know. And now you're still going to have to wait for months for an intake manifold to show in, unless you can get it from an aftermarket source. So typically the tick tap, really more like loud, distinct sound, is coming from the intake manifold. And on the passenger side, right along the top of the manifold where it comes up, there's a solenoid there. Pull off the vacuum line or undo the connector to the solenoid, you'll see that the manifold runner starts to function normal again. And I think at one time you could not order that solenoid without getting that intake manifold because it was part of the unit. You might be able to order the solenoid now. I don't know. And then a lot of times the runner inside the manifold itself malfunctions, so you have to replace the whole manifold anyway. The other thing is you'll find carbon tracking on the spark plugs because guys don't service their 6.2s enough. They have a double set of plugs, right? So you have 16 plugs total. You got 4 up top on each bank and then 4 underneath the head with spark plug wires running along the side. And if you look at my last video, just like what was specified, you'll see that I was out at 11:30 last night at my buddy's house. He's got a 6.2 Super Duty, older than yours, but in really good shape. And kind of an emergency call. The belt tensioner kind of collapsed. I went out there night before last and diagnosed it. And then went out there last night in the rain and changed it right there in the driveway and stuff for him because he has to... It's his main vehicle. So I got it going for him, but then when I'm letting it sit there and run in the dark, I'm starting to see this arcing. Tick, 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 and it's bouncing around all over the place. And I'm like, wow, looks like a light show. Woo! You can see in the dark. Open the hood in your driveway, no light on anywhere at all, and let it sit there and run while you do a cold start, and you'll see. Looks like a little light show on top of your engine. And what's going on is the carbon tracking or whatever on the spark plug is trying to find ground. Your spark plugs are wore out. You need a tune-up. You need new plug wires probably. and that little electrode or whatever, little fuse electrode thing, I don't know what the hell it is, that little porcelain deal above the spring, that all has to be changed. Sometimes you need ignition coils and wires and plugs. Sometimes you can get away with just changing the innards and the spring inside in the boot and plugs. And that's the tick tap snap rattle pop, whatever you want to call it as well. And then the 6.2s do have oil problems when they're not maintained properly. You can actually tap into the port down by where the oil filter base is and screw an oil pressure gauge in right there and actually see what your oil pressure is on startup. And you'll see that it'll drop down to like 17, 18, 15 psi. That motor's done. The motor's done. At that point, you've probably done more damage than good. If you can catch it early enough, then no problem at all. Most of the time it's the intake manifold or it's the carbon tracking and stuff like that going on with the spark plugs. And if it's more of a distinct, you know it's some kind of knock. At that point, it's typically engine failure. So that's it. (2017) Lincoln having Sync 3, but no CarPlay. How can I fix that? Aftermarket radio. I tell a lot of people all the time, you don't want Sync anymore? My buddy came in with a Transit, and he said, dude, that radio is staying on its own sometimes. I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of dealing with the sync problems and stuff like that. And I was going to put a new audio control module in it, fix all the problems and stuff for him. And his buddy called him up. He owns an audio shop. And he was like, dude, you know we have like complete dash bezel kits, right? I'm literally going to pull that sync junk out of there, is what he said. His words, not mine. And I'm going to put an Apple radio in there. And I'm going to put a whole new bezel and everything on the top of your little Transit Connect. And it's a custom made manufacturer style bezel that snaps all right back in, and you've got an Apple Play radio that does navigation and Bluetooth and all that stuff. And he said, Rich, I love it. I absolutely freaking love it. I have no problems with this thing at all. As soon as I get in, phone connected, phone calls crystal clear and everything else, I have no issues at all in this thing. And I paid $500 for it installed. Got a new plastic trim all along, fits the radio perfectly, professionally installed. And he said, couldn't have been happier. Why couldn't have Ford went with a system like this that has none of these issues? I don't know, man. It's all about money and it's all about contracts. That's what it comes down to. So when you have to provide vehicles to customers that don't want to pay $100,000, they don't want to pay $80,000, they want it in more of a budget type range, 50, 60, you got to figure out where your contracts are going to be. You want more? You got to pay more. You want Apple, you want Samsung, you want all these things? Well, your car just went from 50 to 60, 62, 65. You don't want to pay it, so you don't get it. That's just how it is. That's reality. All right, guys, I got to get out of here, man. I'm back to the dealership. I'm going to call the customer. I'm going to let them know everything that's going on. Sorry I missed your questions. Catch me on the next live. If you don't catch me on the next live, catch me in one of my videos. As always, be blessed. Bob will drop the Discord, or I already has dropped the Discord here. I got to get back in here. I got to write my story up. I got to get the customer back his vehicle. I got to go. I will see y'all later. The video is loading on this truck. In about 30 minutes, it will be up. Thank you. Thank you for everything. Be blessed.